Whoa!
Where I want to start telling is the day I left Pensy Prep. Pensy Prep is a school that's in Hagerstown, Pennsylvania. You probably heard of it, and you've probably seen the ads anyway. They advertise in about 1,000 magazines, always seeing some hotshot guy on a horse jumping over a fence. Like all you ever did at Pensy was play polo all the time. I never once saw a horse anywhere near the place. They don't do any damn more molding at Pensy than they do at any other school, and I didn't know anybody there that was splendid and clear thinking and all. Maybe 2 guys, if that many, and they probably came to Pensy that way. He put my goddamn paper down and then looked at me like he just beaten hell out of me in ping pong or something. I don't think I'll ever forgive him for reading me that crap out loud. I wouldn't have read it out loud to him if he'd written it. I really wouldn't. In the first place, I'd only written that damn note so that he wouldn't feel too bad about flunking me.
Do you blame me for flunking you, boy?
No, sir. I certainly don't. I wish to hell he'd stop calling me boy all the time. He tried chucking my exam paper on the bed when he was through with it, only he missed again. Naturally, I had to get up again and pick it up, and put it on top of the Atlantic Monthly. It's boring to do that every 2 minutes.
What would you have done in my place? Tell the truth, boy.
Well, you could see he really felt pretty lousy about flunking me, so I shot the bull for a while. I told him I was a real moron and all that stuff. I told him how I would have done exactly the same thing. We always had the same meal on Saturday nights at Pensy. It was supposed to be a big deal because they gave you steak. I'll bet $1,000 the reason they did it was because a lot of guys' parents came out to school on Sunday, and old Thermer probably figured out everybody's mother would ask their darling boy what he had for dinner last night, and he'd say steak. What a racket. You should have seen the steaks. They were these little, hard, dry jobs that you can hardly even cut. You always got these very lumpy mashed potatoes on steak night, and for dessert you got brown Betty, which nobody ate, except maybe the little kids in the lower school that didn't know any better, and guys like Ackley that ate everything. Now he's out in Hollywood, DB, being a prostitute. If there's one thing I hate, it's the movies. Don't even mention them to me. I didn't have a date or anything, so I and this friend of mine, Mal Brossard, that was on the wrestling team, decided that we'd take a bus into Hagerstown and have a hamburger and maybe see a lousy movie. Neither of us felt like sitting around on our ass all night. I asked Mal if he minded if Ackley came along with us. Mal said he didn't mind, but he wasn't too crazy about the idea. He didn't like Ackley much. And no sign out or anything, and you felt like you were disappearing every time you crossed the road. Boy, I rang that doorbell fast when I got to old Spencer's house. I was really frozen. My ears were hurting and I could hardly move my fingers at all. Come on. Somebody open the door. Miss Spencer opened it. They didn't have a maid or anything, and they always opened the doors themselves. They didn't have too much dough.
Holden! How lovely to see you. Please come in, dear. You must be frozen to death outside.
I think she was glad to see me. She liked me. At least I think she did. How are you, Miss Spencer? How's Mr. Spencer?
Oh, let me take your coat, dear.
Hey, what you doing, Jane?
Nothing.
You at least give her my regards.
Yeah?
Come on, bro. Tell me what you did.
Ah, it's a professional secret, buddy.
Moron.
No.
Oh. Love my feet.
Excuse me, but isn't that a Pensy Prep sticker? Do you go to Pensy?
Yes, I do.
Oh, how lovely. Perhaps you know my son then, Ernest Morrow? He goes to Pensy.
Yes, I do. He's in my class.
Oh, how nice. I must tell Ernest we met. May I ask for your name, dear?
Rudolph Schmidt.
Do you like Pensy?
Pensy, it's not bad. It's not paradise or anything, but it's as good as most schools. Some of the faculty are pretty conscientious.
Ernest just adores it.
I know he does. He adapts himself very well to things. He really does. I mean, he really knows how to adapt himself.
Do you think so?
Ernest, sure.
Ernest's father and I sometimes worry about him. We sometimes feel he's not a terribly good mixer. Well, he's very sensitive. He's a very sensitive boy. He's never been a terribly good mixer with the other boys. Perhaps he takes things a little more seriously than he should at his age.
Well, a bunch of us wanted old Ernie to be president of the class. I mean, he was a unanimous choice. I mean, he was the only boy that could really handle the job. But this other boy, Harry Fencer, was elected. And the only reason why he was elected, the simple and obvious reason, was because Ernie wouldn't let us nominate him. Because he's so darn shy and modest and all.
How can I help you?
You get scotch on the rocks?
Do you have a verification for your age, like your driver's license?
I look under 21 to you?
I'm sorry, but we have our policy.
Okay, fine. I'll just get some.
Okay, thank you. Here's your coat.
Do you girls want to dance? How about I'll dance with you. Finally, the blonde one got up to dance with me because you could tell I was really talking to her. And we walked out to the dance floor. The other two girls nearly had hysterics when we did. I certainly must have been very hard up to even bother with any of them. But it was worth it. The blonde one was some dancer. She was one of the best dancers I ever danced with. I'm not kidding. Some of these very stupid girls can really knock you out on the dance floor. You take a really smart girl and half the time she's trying to lead you around the dance floor. Or else she's such a lousy dancer that the best thing to do is just stay at the table and just get drunk with her. You really can dance. You ought to be a pro. I mean it. I danced with a pro once, and you're twice as good as she was. Did you ever hear of Marco and Miranda? She wasn't even listening to me. She was looking all around the place. She's not too hot though. She does everything she's supposed to do, but she's not so hot anyway. Even though it was so late, old Ernie's was jam-packed, mostly with prep school jerks and college jerks. It was pretty quiet though, because Ernie was playing the piano. It was supposed to be something holy, for God's sakes. When he sat down at the piano, nobody's that good. He was putting all those dumb, showy, offy ripples in the high notes, and a lot of other very tricky stuff that gives me a pain in the ass. You should have heard that crowd.
Let's go ice skating at Radio City.
That's the kind of idea she always had. Ice skating in Radio City? You mean right now?
Just for an hour or so. Don't you want to? If you don't want to...
I didn't say I didn't want to. Sure, if you want to. That's why she was so hot to go. She wanted to see herself in one of those little skirts that just came down over their butt and all. She really did look damn good in it though. I have to admit it. I don't think she didn't know it. The funny part was, though we were the worst skaters on the whole goddamn rink, I mean the worst, and there were some Lulus too. Old Sally's ankle kept bending until they were practically on the ice. They not only looked stupid as hell, but they probably hurt like hell too. I know mine did. Mine were killing me. We must have looked gorgeous. And what made it worse, there were at least a couple of hundred rubberneckers that didn't have anything better to do than stand around and watch everybody falling all over themselves. It is if a body meet a body coming through the rye. I didn't know it then though. I thought it was if a body catch a body. Anyway, I kept picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids and nobody's around. Nobody big. I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going. I have to come out from there somewhere and catch them. That's all I do, all day. I just be the catcher in the rye and all. I know it's crazy, but that's the only thing I'd rather like to be. Go ahead then. I'll be on this bench right over here. I'll watch you. I went over and sat down on this bench, and she went over and got on the carousel. She walked all around it. I mean, she walked once all the way around it. Then she sat down on this big, brown, beat-up-looking old horse. Then the carousel started, and I watched her go round and round. All the kids kept trying to grab for the gold ring, and so was old Phoebe. And I was sort of afraid she'd fall off the goddamn horse. But I didn't say anything or do anything. The thing with kids is, if they want to grab for the gold ring, you have to just let them do it, and not say anything. If they fall off, they fall off. But it's bad if you say anything to them. When the ride was over, she got off the horse and came over to me.
look what I got. I got a golden